Hello and welcome to my channel Inspiring Life Changes. My name is Colette and I am a intuitive tarot reader with over 30 years experience. Sorry, my mind just went completely blank there. I'm not actually doing a tarot reading today, well not right now anyway. This video is an astrology video. It is for the a new moon that has just taken place in Sagittarius today. New moon solar eclipse, very powerful energy that has just taken place. And for anybody who's interested, there will be an astrological natal chart link in the description box down below, where you can also go and find out a lot more about the astrology that is happening at this time, as well as finding out about your own astrological makeup if you don't already know it. So usually my experience is mostly tarot, but I do astrology for those of you who haven't been to my channel before. I always do the new moon and the full moon astrology readings. I write the notes and then I write them up on a blog which I have on the WordPress site for anybody who's interested. It will be linked either with this video that I'm doing today, or the video, or should I say now, or the video that I will be doing later for the actual tarot reading as well. I will link it with one or the other. So if you're interested, you can go and check them out. So the energy, I will start off with the Moonology cards here, just to say that we have the new moon energy here of Sagittarius, which is saying luck is on your side, or luck is on our side at this time. It does feel as though things are moving, things are definitely shifting. The energy is coming towards the end, with Capricorn energies all kind of beginning to dissipate a little bit more. It is really heavy at this time though, as I will talk about in the astrology. But very soon, in fact in 3 days time, Saturn will be leaving his home sign, so that's a big shift of energy here as well. But the solar eclipse today is also a big powerful event. So we have the new moon energy, which is a new moon is all about new beginnings, something fresh coming in, a new approach to something, starting something again differently, looking at something in a new way. And the new moon in Sagittarius is a mutable moon, which means that nothing is set in stone. So there is flexibility here, there is things that can be changed here, nothing is definite yet. And the last card that I'm going to put up here, we don't actually have a solar eclipse card, but the reason that we have the solar eclipse today is because of the South Node. So the South Node is all about releasing, letting go of the energies wherever the South Node happens to be, and it is in Sagittarius, so those are the energies that we're having to release at this time. And it says here, don't let your past hold you back. And I will again explain more about these energies as I go through my astrology read. Again, it's an intuitive interpretation of the astrology that is taking place at this time, and I am calling it truth, inspiration, releasing old beliefs. That's very much what Sagittarius is about, truth and justice being another big word for Sagittarius energy as well, but also our beliefs and our opinions as well play a big part. So once again, the divine masculine energy, the sun, comes together to form a conjunction with the divine feminine energy, the moon, at the time of a new moon. So this new moon total solar eclipse is happening in the sign of Sagittarius, conjunct the sun at 23 degrees and 8 minutes. Mercury is also conjunct them both at 20 degrees 05 minutes. It is occurring at 16 hours 17 minutes UK time in the 9th house energy. So if you have any planets or points between the 18 to 28 degrees mark, you will be feeling this solar eclipse the most intently. It will also have a strong effect on those with planets or points, which is always why it's helpful to have your chart, your own natal chart, and understand it on a deeper level, because then you can check out whether you have any planets or points in these houses. So at the same degrees of any of the other mutable signs, which are Gemini, Virgo and Pisces. So check to see which house this falls in for you on a personal level, as that is the energy where you will experience it the most as well over the next 6 months. The path of this solar eclipse is going to fall over Chile, Argentina, the tip of South America and Southwest Africa. So these are the countries that are going to feel it the most, feel it the strongest, and also be the most affected over the years to come. So it will be interesting to watch these countries in particular for the next few years to see how this plays out for them. So there is a lot of activity happening at the time of this solar eclipse as we reach the second week of December. So firstly, I would like to give you a list of all the aspects directly connected to the solar eclipse energy itself. So this is just the energy connected to the sun and the moon while they are conjunct. So the sun and the moon are conjunct Mercury. Sun and moon are conjunct to the galactic centre, which I will also talk about. Sun and the moon are conjunct the south node, and sun and the moon are opposing the north node. Sun and the moon are trining Mars. Sun and the moon are squaring Neptune. South node is conjunct Mercury. South node is trining Mars. South node is square Neptune, and the north node opposes Mercury. And I will just add, because I didn't put them in, I don't think. Okay, so yeah. Also, the north node is sextile Mars, north node is square Neptune, Mercury is trining Mars, and Mercury is square Neptune. As I was saying, a Mercury square Neptune, yeah. So, as I was saying, what I would like to add here as well is that the sun and the moon trining Mars are also going to be trining Eris, which is Mars' sister, who is sitting in Aries as well. So the sun and moon are trining Eris. Sun and south node is trining Eris. North node is sextile to Eris, and that Mercury is trining Eris as well. So I will also talk about Eris herself in this astrology. So personally, what I think is of greatest interest here is the solar eclipse taking place at 23 degrees 08, only 3 degrees away from the galactic centre, which sits at 26 to 28 degrees of Sagittarius. This is a powerful energy which makes this part of the sky they are in and the solar eclipse an even more powerful one. When any of the planets cross over this part of the sky, they are in direct contact with the quantum upgrading evolutionary energy, as I like to call it. So they are receiving direct downloads right from the mind of the universe itself. So I like to picture, this is how I picture it. The galactic centre is like the umbilical cord attached to the placenta of the mother that feeds the baby as it develops. We are that baby. The universe is our universal mother that surrounds our solar system. like the liquid in the womb. So the galactic center is how we forever grow and develop collectively. As each planet, both the quicker and more personal planets, and the slower moving outer, more generational affecting planets, always at some point will connect with this cosmic energy force. When they go over the top of this particular point of Sagittarius in the sky, that is when they are getting these direct downloads from the galactic center, and it kind of upgrades the energy. It's like a new information being fed into them, new ideas, concepts. So yeah, bringing through new ideas, new visions, new insights, new communications, new technologies, new transformations, new cosmic leaps forward. This is the energy of the non-physical that we then bring into the physical domain via the planets themselves and make that our reality. So when it's time for something to change, when it's time for energies to upgrade, or for us as a human race to move forward, the galactic center will be sending through all this kind of information, like cosmic information, for the planets to pick up on. So the sun will cross over the galactic center on the 17th to the 19th of December. As the sun is beginning to traverse it, Saturn will have just left Capricorn on that date. It will then be followed by Jupiter doing the same on the 19th, just as the sun moves out of the galactic center. And I think that's quite an interesting kind of combination there. Saturn leaving Capricorn just as the sun moves into the galactic center. And then Jupiter joining, moving into Aquarius as well, just as the sun comes out the other side of the galactic center. Jupiter is 1 degree away from moving into Aquarius at that time. Jupiter is literally not 1 degree, sorry, 1 minute away from moving into Aquarius, just as the sun comes out. So Mercury will then follow the sun on the 18th, moving out from the centre on the 19th. So Mercury will be doing his own thing from the 18th to the 19th because he's quicker moving. And the next day we'll see Mercury meet up with the sun at exactly 28 degrees and 40 minutes in Sagittarius, before Mercury moves ahead of the sun once again. So Mercury will now be ahead of the sun. He has been behind the sun for a while because the sun overtook Mercury when he went retrograde recently in the Libra Scorpio retrograde that Mercury went through. The sun went past Mercury, but now Mercury is going to lead the way again for a while. And I think again when he gets into Pisces he will be going through another retrograde, so not that much longer, and then the sun will catch up again and take over Mercury, and it's this constant backwards and forwards with the sun and Mercury. They're kind of constantly communicating with each other, which is why Mercury is so close to the sun all the time. So this new moon, this is a new moon, and so therefore it heralds a new beginning, a new start, a new approach to something in our lives. One which in a week's time will see a massive shift in the energies we have been living through. So much so that it will be palpable. I want to say here that as this solar eclipse involves the personal planets directly of the Sun, Moon, Mercury and Mars, which are corresponding to our feminine, nurturing, receptive, emotional energies, and our masculine, doing, outward, logical energies, as well as our thinking, separating, communicative abilities, and our self-identity, drive and passion, this is very much about our individual journeys. What we have learnt and are still learning about ourselves on a personal level, and the experience we've had to go through in this lifetime, as well as previous lifetimes, and how we have all been personally affected this year especially, how it is, and I see it all as a kind of culminating point at this time. It's kind of on the 21st of December, shall we say, is kind of this culminating point of all these energies kind of coming together with this massive Saturn and Jupiter conjunction, but more of that later. So for now though, we are experiencing both a new beginning as well as an ending, a time of transition, a time of releasing the old, as the South Node at 19 degrees 46 minutes or 20 degrees is responsible for this solar eclipse, while it also conjuncts Mercury at 20 degrees and 5 minutes, which means Mercury is also opposing the North Node. Once again, the energy here will be disconnected. Whereas a fortnight ago we experienced the lunar eclipse, which only lasted 3.5 minutes, this solar eclipse will take 3.5 hours to be completed. It is said that the amount of hours can relate to the amount of years a country will feel the result and experience the changes when they are directly in that pathway. However, I feel that Mercury is being strongly affected here, due to it also being the ruler of Gemini, which is where we find the North Node, beckoning us forward. Mercury is the ruler of communication, information, data, education in our early years, and of course the media, where we get our daily news, input of worldly affairs. We cannot leave social media out of this bigger picture either. With Mercury sitting so close to the South Node, I personally believe we are being asked to take a good look at how much influence we have given to these media companies over our lives in general. We are being given an opportunity to take stock and become much more discerning in what we allow into our headspace, which will affect our psyches and personal vibration. This, I believe, is where we will experience some of the biggest changes, as the North and South Node are both in T-square energy with Neptune at 18 degrees 13 minutes. So too is Mercury squaring Neptune at the same time. This is like being caught in between two worlds, the old paradigm versus the new paradigm. The South Node is the old and familiar, like a comfortable pair of shoes we don't want to part with, but know we can't keep relying on them to keep our feet dry. The North Node is the new, the unfamiliar, the untested pair of shoes that as of yet we are still trying to accept and now in our life instead. We are torn between going back to what we know and moving forward to what we don't. This is what I feel is being played out at this time around our media. The once tried and trusted is needing to be let go of on a collective level. And with Neptune as the tipping point of this back and forth energy, or this back and forth T-square energy, because we have this T-square going on at this time, with the North Node, South Node and Neptune in Pisces, dead in between the two, and of course Mercury is also conjunct the South Node, which is why I think this whole thing around communication and media in particular is going to be hugely affected at this time, because it's the South Node, as I was saying, is actually creating this solar eclipse energy. It's telling us to let go. So, and the North Node is saying, you know, this is expansion over here and this is constriction over here. So the North Node is all about growth and growing into, whereas the South Node is about kind of like not going any further. You've learned everything you can learn from that energy, so it's time to let it go. So we are being given the way to let it go. Neptune is the unknown. It is where we can surrender and allow our long-held beliefs and opinions around what we think we know to dissolve, to give them back to the nebulous and unformed. We are being asked to trust what we don't yet know, to trust what is forming within the deeper subconscious collective experience. Trust that the higher creative energy source of all that is, all that has ever been, and all that is yet to come is creating everything perfectly in divine timing. For now, our priority is to trust our part in this unfolding bigger picture. This T-square energy of the North and South nodes with Neptune started way back on the 28th of July. During which time Neptune was retrograde and was a part of a powerful and rare kite information. So while I was doing the research on this, I went back and had a look to see exactly what was happening at that time and discovered that there was a very powerful kite formation happening. So this kite included Mercury in Cancer, again Mercury playing a large part. And Mercury played, or communication, the media has played a huge part in 2020 in the way that we have kind of been pushed into a certain kind of belief about things. And that's about all I'm going to say on that matter, because certain words are not going to go down very well with the platform that this is going out on. So I try to kind of hold back on what I say here for that, but let's just say that there has been a huge push on the fear element by the media here in particular. And so I think that Mercury, or media communication, is very, very, very relevant at this time. So, okay, this includes Mercury in Cancer, trining both Neptune in Pisces, Neptune again, and the moon in Scorpio, which also trined Neptune. Both the moon and Neptune sextiled Jupiter and Pluto in Capricorn, while they both opposed Mercury, just as the North and South node moved into their T-square alignment with Neptune. So that was the state of play, shall we say, with the planets in the sky, just literally before this long-lasting T-square with the nodes and Neptune began to take place. And a kite, as I was saying, it is a rare formation, and it is said to be a sign of destiny or fate, and always involves 4 planets. This kite, though, has 5 planets. The point being at both Jupiter and Pluto emphasising the transformational changes we have been going through and the role the media has played in it all. Another thing to point out here is that all the planets, apart from Uranus in Taurus, are now in forward motion, meaning we are starting to leave that deja vu energy behind and forge ahead into new territory again. Very Sagittarius energy. And as I was saying, for anybody who's interested, there will be a horoscope of that kite. Like, there will be a diagram on this blog for anybody who wants to check that out for themselves. So I find it interesting that this energy is still strongly playing out now in December, with the North and South nodes in square to Neptune on the 14th of December at the time of the solar eclipse. Also a significant date to the USA. And even more fascinating is the fact it will be exact the T-square energy will become exact with Neptune on the 6th of January, which is yet another very significant time for decision making in the US. So if anybody doesn't know what I'm talking about there, it's a big time for what is happening at this time of everything that's going on in the courts, etc. at this time in the US. And both of those dates, the 14th, solar eclipse day, electoral decision day, and the 6th of January, which I believe is when the votes are called for what is happening today, is also part of this as well. So yet another very significant time, for decision making. So this aspect doesn't end until the 22nd of March, just around the time of the spring equinox, when we will see the results beginning to come into form of the new dream being birthed. The aspects with Mercury squaring Neptune began on the 9th of December and was exact on the 13th. It ends on the 17th of December. So Mercury will move forward and the square with Neptune will end at that point. So the conjunction of the Sun and Mercury started on the 2nd of December. It's exact on the 20th and it ends on the 5th of January. So that's another long-lasting conjunction as well. The day before, interestingly, the 6th as well. So during this period we should begin to see more clarity around what could have been confusing issues or decisions in our lives. So things will become easier, there will be more clarity around things, our minds will be clearer, we'll be able to think a lot faster, a lot more efficient as well. It will just feel as though things are a lot easier for us to make decisions about and to move forward on the decision making, rather than putting the decisions off or kind of thinking about something and thinking, no, I don't actually want to make that decision, or I don't want to think about it at this time. That will become easier. So there is both a beginning and an ending during the time of this solar eclipse. I believe we will see this occurring very strongly as we move more and more away from the big corporate news magnets to the smaller grassroots journalists who have been silently growing in the background, behind the veil. More and more of these voices will step forward to be heard. Sagittarius is the 9th house in the zodiac. It is governed by Jupiter, the planet of joy, optimism, hope, gifts, enthusiasm, exuberance, as well as expansion or exaggeration. Sagittarius is a fire sign, and just like its ruling element, it is about movement forward, pushing beyond the limitations and boundaries, daring to explore where we have yet been, where we have not yet been. Sagittarius seeks the truth and is willing to risk everything for something it believes in strongly. Something Sagittarius does strongly believe in is freedom. The freedom to seek the truth, the freedom to speak the truth. The truth, as well as the freedom to be ourselves. Sagittarius also rules the higher mind, which includes both learning and teaching, along with our belief systems, our opinions, philosophy, religion, colleges, universities, churches, and the idea of justice within the law itself and how that is actually applied, as well as being able to debate freely, but also all under the Sagittarius domain. So Sagittarius, in some ways, the energy of Sagittarius is the law creator, shall we say. It's not so much the it doesn't enforce the law in the same way as Capricorn energy does. Capricorn is more of a law enforcing energy, because it rules the courts as well, Capricorn. But Sagittarius is more the kind of, it's more the philosophy behind the law, the reasoning behind it, why something is right or wrong in that respect, and also what is best for everybody. That's another very Sagittarian energy in many ways as well. Sagittarius wants to have that sense of justice for everybody to have the right to be themselves and to have the freedom to explore. As I've mentioned before, when talking about this South Node in Sagittarius energy, all of those things can be positive attributes for our society. Until that is, they become dogmatic and restrictive in our lives, rather than creative and expansive. All of those aforementioned subjects are under the scrutiny of this solar eclipse energy and up for transformation at this time. As when the sun and moon come back online, we will be able to watch the battle play out between the old and new. Over the coming months of this hugely powerful, liberating for some, more constraining for others event. The returning energy will have shifted something within us that we will each experience differently. If we have been limiting ourselves, we will see the shifts occurring all around us as we also experience them from within us. And I also think as well that those who are looking for that freedom and looking for that liberation are going to find it easier in some ways to let go of the old ideas and opinions and views around things, whereas people who are very stuck in their way of thinking and believing about something are going to find it very difficult to move beyond that energy. It's like they're more likely to stay in that South Node energy, whereas other people are more likely to move towards the North Node energy of wanting to find out more about something. So Mars is also playing a big part at this time. Along with his sister Eris, Mars is at 20 degrees 43 minutes, while his sister, who has been in the sign of Aries since 1922, is still sitting at the 23 to 24 degree mark. She's very, very, very slow moving. Both of them are trining the Sun and the Moon, as well as Mercury. This solar eclipse adding more fire to this already fiery, changeable situation that is seriously wanting to push something forward. So both Mars and Eris are very kind of forward moving energies, and now that Mars has turned direct, he really does want to go. He's just like move, move, move. And Eris is the same as well. Eris wants action. She wants to be out there making things happen. She is the feminine warrioress energy of discord and disharmony, as well as discontentment. And she has been playing a major role throughout the whole of this year. She was there when the major conjunction with Saturn and Pluto took place back in January, that brought on the tower moment that set the wheels in motion for 2020. She has been there making connections with each of the trio in Capricorn, both individually and collectively, silently letting her presence be felt, helping to bring down the establishment for the benefit of the people. And she will continue to be squaring Pluto as well, until Pluto moves forward over the next few years. This Pluto Eris energy which is kind of playing out in the background because Eris isn't really as well known as the other planets. Her energy, like I was saying, is very much about, you know, it's getting the people out in the streets, it's getting people's discontentment out there. It's saying, look, you know, are you happy with this situation? Obviously you're not happy with this situation, so do something about it. Go out there and, you know, let it be known. That's Eris energy. And while she's got Mars next to her as well, the two of them really just want to get the wheels in motion and just push forward. But at the same time, they are squaring across, as I was saying, to the deconstructing transformational power planet Pluto at 23 degrees 38. And he's forcing both Mars and Eris to hold back on that energy, hold their horses, so to speak. It's like, no, you're not doing that, you know, which is frustrating for Mars and frustrating for Eris as well. Mars being also the warrior, courageous energy, kind of wants to show that he can do this. But Pluto has been kind of, with both Eris, the feminine, and Mars, the masculine warrioress energies, have both been kind of put under the hammer in some ways. They've both been kind of hammered by Pluto over this past year, which is almost like hammering the ego, particularly I think when it comes to people in places of power, positions of power. I think they are in particularly being, like, their egos are being bashed quite strongly, and I think that we're going to see this continue as well because of the Eris Pluto squaring energy, which will continue for a while longer. So yeah, Pluto at this time is saying, cool things down, give ourselves time to bring something to a close. And I'm feeling it like the winter season. While I was writing this, it was kind of coming through as being like the winter season, like almost like having to hibernate, like just a mini hibernation, not like a long-term hibernation, but kind of just becoming still within for a while, of being inside of ourselves, inside of our own homes, retreating indoors more as something is changing within us, giving ourselves time to align with what we've had to deal with and come to terms with, time to end out the cycle before the new one begins, before we go rushing into what we are needing to do next. Time to think things through and readjust our plans, not to waste our energy, as we will need it when it comes to our standing up for what we believe in. Our self-determination and being passionately driven to make a difference in our lives. We will then have the energy to release and to see it through to the end. A bit like a spring in a way. It's kind of drawing that kind of, pulling it back, pulling it back, pulling it back, and kind of holding it until it's ready to kind of be pushed forward, and then it will have that kind of energetic burst, if you like, to kind of get to where it really needs to go. The trine with the Sun, Mars and Eris began on the 28th of November. It was exact on the 11th of December at 19 degrees 38 minutes and ends on the 25th of December, when things will begin to pick up pace once more as we head into January. And that's when I feel that the energy is really going to really start moving forward. Neptune is also right in there with this energy, yet another planet that has been playing a starring role over this year. Saturn, Jupiter and Pluto have all been sextiling Neptune for long periods of time, again affecting us individually as well as collectively, either singularly, in pairs, or as a trio. It's been really full on energy. I mean, any one of those planets has a big effect on us on a personal level and a collective level, because they are generational, slow moving planets. But when you've got two of them together, it's kind of magnifies that energy. And when you've got three together, it's like, that's why 2020 has been so bloody hard. So tough. So, yeah, so very, very difficult in so many ways. And with Neptune as well, because Neptune is the unknown. It is the kind of nebulous energy of, like, you know, nobody really knows. So Neptune is in his own 12th house of Pisces and recently turned direct after 5 months of moving backwards in deep reflective mode at the time of the lunar eclipse. That's when Neptune came out of his retrograde after 5 months. At the time that, so he's now at 18 degrees 13 minutes and in squares with the planets in Sagittarius as well as the North Node in Gemini. Neptune is the planet of transcendence, mysticism, confusion, creativity, illusion, the subconscious, the unknown, intuitive, psychic, all things spiritual, and the realm where we both sleep and dream. Again, we see 3 of our personal planets in connection with Neptune. That's Mercury, Sun and the Moon. This time, the challenge here is to look into things from a higher perspective. Neptune is saying, how do we want to learn? Can we trust ourselves to understand from a deeper level of awareness? Trust in our intuitive knowing, higher levels of knowledge and wisdom. To expand our vision, our intuitive knowing, to expand our vision, our conscious awareness, beyond our limited beliefs? Or do we want to stay in our narrow viewpoint, comfortable in our ignorance, believing there is no more for us to learn, where the repetition of our level of understanding is mistaken as a sign of intelligence? The North Node in Gemini is saying there is still so much yet to uncover and information to download from a higher source of wisdom. While the South Node is saying, why would we want to move beyond our own limited boundaries set by our own mundane view of the world? Why free ourselves from the limitations of our own belief systems? Does it not feel easier to stay stuck in what we have allowed to become set in stone? Can we allow the structures and the edifices we create for ourselves on both the physical and metaphysical level to collapse and leave us open, exposed and vulnerable for the new to take root in the freshly prepared soul of our psyche? And that is often the problem when it comes to the kind of unknown. It's the fact that literally we don't know what's coming. It's like we would rather stick with something that may not be good for us anymore, but we know it, it's familiar. Like I was saying, it's that familiar pair of shoes rather than kind of trying something new. We want to stick with the traditions, we want to stick with what we know. But by doing that, we're not going beyond anything, we're not learning anymore, we're not putting ourselves out there or pushing ourselves forward to learn from a higher level of conscious awareness. So moving on to Venus, who has been since the 7th of December in a sextile with Pluto, which ended on the 13th of December, the day before this new moon, so it just ended yesterday. New moon solar eclipse takes place. During this time, however, Pluto at 23 degrees and 26 minutes and Venus at 19 degrees 56 or 20 degrees in Scorpio have been digging down into the emotions, almost like testing for any dodgy foundations within our relationships and what we share with others around us. If the foundations have not been solid and built upon what we truly value, now that Venus has moved forward to the last degrees of Scorpio and is sitting at 28 degrees 44, nearer 29 degrees in sextile with Jupiter at 28 degrees 56 minutes or 29 degrees, and Saturn at 29 degrees 44 minutes, this energy is most likely to show the cracks and bring the walls down. So basically what it's saying is that Pluto has been there first, kind of going, because Pluto kind of drills down into everything. It kind of goes deep, deep, deep. So into the very bedrock of the foundations of whatever it is that you value, relationship or your belief systems even. Pluto will have been down there to kind of try and find, or will have found, any of those cracks, any of those kind of like, you know, little kind of flaws in your beliefs or doubts of what you truly thought you believed. And then Jupiter and Saturn together, Jupiter of course expands everything, and so with Jupiter and Saturn sextiling together at the same time, it's going to kind of bring all of those walls down around us if our values aren't strong, if we haven't built them on strong foundations. So so also we have Chiron, which is the energy of healing, the deep wounds within us, is trining across to Venus at this time as well, in Aries at 0,4 degrees, 56 minutes or 5 degrees. So the wounds here can be both individual scars as well as those created historically or generationally, which we carry from generation to generation, whether we are aware of them or not. During this time, they may surface physically in our bodies to remind us of their presence and the need to look into their origins. These placements together at this time could bring to the surface all the buried and concealed negative emotions around something we have been trying to make the best of and kind of making us release long-held resentment. It could be a direct action of these energies coming together. So with Saturn and Jupiter coming together, it may bring to the surface a lot of this, like I was saying, you know, it could be doubts around things that we thought that we valued, but you know, maybe now we're kind of questioning these things, and we may still not want to let go of them because they're still familiar to us. They're the things that we know and understand. So being a sextile and a trine energy, this will in the long term be beneficial, as Jupiter is also involved here, offering gifts and plenty of promises of hope and optimism. Jupiter-Venus sextiles are beautiful energy, giving us encouragement, belief in ourselves, in our potential to be able to move toward a better version of love and happiness. In the short term, however, we may feel as though we have lost out on something. As both Pluto and Saturn are malefic planets that always work through what appears to us to be going against what feels right or good for us. This makes it hard for us to accept, especially when it involves our emotions and attachments to where our feelings lie. So also Venus is in the last degrees of Scorpio as well, and the last degrees of any sign kind of magnify the kind of negative aspects as well. So with Jupiter, Saturn and Pluto all kind of making these connections with Venus at this time, we could be going through, you know, some real kind of heavy hitting emotional energies here. So when Pluto, the lord of the underworld and death, as well as Saturn, the lord of karma and time, is involved, they are telling us now is the time to be mature about us bringing something to an end. As only when we relinquish something can we allow the rebirth or transformation and birth of the new. This act in itself is a sign of maturity, or of taking responsibility for our own emotional growth and commitment to one's own happiness. Venus is the ruler of both Taurus and Libra. She wants the beauty of who we truly are to flourish and grow in balance and harmony. In Scorpio, she encourages us to go deeper into our feeling realm in order to discover the inner happiness we seek outwardly. This aspect with Jupiter and Venus started on the 10th of December. It is exact on the 14th December, today, at 28 degrees 59 minutes. So very close to 29 degrees. As I was saying, it's a really kind of strong, intense energy. And it's going to be roughly 4 hours after the new moon, but while the sun and moon are still conjunct, that this energy is going to become exact. So emotions will be extra intense. It ends on the 18th of December. The sextile to Venus with Saturn started on the 12th of December, is exact on the 15th, so that will be tomorrow at 29 degrees 49 minutes. Again, both going to be very, very kind of close in that last degree. Ends on the 18th, just before Saturn leaves Capricorn. So be prepared for the full spectrum of feelings, from anger to tears and back again. I would also add remorse to that as well. Remorse, possible guilt as well. And it could go back and forwards, you know, vice versa. Over this period, a lot of stress and pent-up restricted emotions could finally be let free as well. So talking of the trio found in Capricorn, Jupiter at 28 degrees 56 or 29 degrees is still in the centre. Conjunct both Pluto behind him at 23 degrees 38 minutes and Saturn just ahead at 29 degrees 44 minutes. Jupiter, the planet of expanding and magnifying everything it comes in contact with, brings to the surface the extreme qualities of these planets, particularly for Saturn at this time, as he is just about to leave his home. Saturn's energy here is like moving through wet concrete. Dense, hard, harsh, responsibilities will feel like a lead weight. Commitments we may have made over this year could suddenly feel overwhelming, exhausting, like we just don't have the ability to see them through, or we may feel as though we should have committed to something, but now we've run out of time and there is no turning back, with Pluto also there. We may also be, for some of us, aware of how much the idea of death has played a huge part in 2020, reminding us that everything is impermanent. Nothing ever lasts forever. Change is constant, even if we are not consciously aware of it taking place around us at the time. This year has been a stark reminder of that. just lost my place here. So Saturn will leave his home sign on the 17th of December, when we can all breathe a collective sigh of relief. Jupiter will follow him 2 days later on the 19th, as they both prepare to come together. So we started 2020 within 12 days of January with the profoundly heavy, life-changing, long-lasting conjunction of Saturn and Pluto, which I have spoken about constantly all year, that has affected the lives in one way or another of everybody, old, young, or somewhere in between on this planet today, either directly or indirectly. We have all felt the enormity and the gravity of these two major planets meeting in Capricorn. The sign that rules establishments, governance of the people, the law courts, the archaic, hierarchic, patriarchic, structural systems within governments, traditions, monarchy, and the status quo. 10 days before we leave the 2020s behind us, the universe is going to give us yet another profound and life-changing conjunction. Only this one is our gift. After all the hardships and traumas, the universe is sending us a sign of hope and encouragement. And in many ways, in many ways, this whole year has been about preparing us for this final conjunction of Saturn and Jupiter. It's really been, as harsh as it may have been, and it has been harsh, and I am fully aware of how difficult and harsh it is and has been, but in many ways it has been about kind of clearing out that old energy, getting rid of that old energy that has been there for centuries now, that we are still living in, that we are still trying to make sense of something that is no longer going to make sense to us because it's not where we're at anymore. It's like we've evolved beyond that, but we're still stuck in that energy. And we have, in many ways, already moved beyond a lot of what we are still living through on some deeper level. So this year for me has, I feel, not just for me, but I feel for collectively for our planet, has been about clearing out that old energy. So on the 21st of December, winter solstice in the north, the shortest day of the year and the rebirth of our sun out of the darkness and into the growing light, we are about to experience the end of one era and the beginning of another. Saturn and Jupiter meet up every 20 years in their cycle. For the last 200 years, apart from once, they have always come together in the dense signs of the earth element. Hence, our view and idea of the world we live in has become more fixed, stubborn-minded, and limiting in our conditioning of what we believe reality is. The movement out of earth signs and into air signs will begin when Saturn and Jupiter become conjunct in Aquarius at the 0 degree 28 minute point. For the whole of 2020, Saturn and Jupiter have been dancing close together, but have as yet not been exact. This is the first time since Jupiter entered Capricorn in early December 2019 that the two biggest planets have been able to come together. 6 months ago precisely, on the summer solstice of 21st June, the longest day of the year, and the point when our sun begins to go into decline, we had a very powerful solar eclipse at the 0 degree 21 minute point of Cancer. Cancer is the mother energy, the universal womb. The 0 degree point of Cancer is the axis mundi, or the world's axis. At that solar eclipse, I believe, personally, a new idea was implanted into the collective womb of the consciousness. that has been slowly developing within the universal connected mind of us all. Now, 6 months on, we are experiencing another solar eclipse. But more importantly, we are about to experience the heralding of a brand new birth of our Earth. This Saturn-Jupiter conjunction will be a massive shift in our conscious awareness, away from the top-down control and back to the grassroots, smaller community, people-oriented idea of living. Aquarius is ruled by the maverick, liberating energy of the higher conscious mind that is Uranus. Expect the unexpected, as Uranus, the ruler of lightning and electricity, loves to shock. But as they say, shock can enlighten even the dimmest of souls. As we get into 2021 and Pluto continues to bring down the past, everything will begin to accelerate. So I'm just going to read you the Sabian symbol for the 23-degree point of Sagittarius. And I'm not overly keen on this, I must say. I'm not overly keen on the site that I have to take this from now, because the one that I was using seems to have completely disappeared, which is a shame because I really liked their take on these symbols. So, a group of immigrants fulfilling the requirements for entering a new country. This symbol shows finding a new way of life, a new country or nationality, or new place to live and raise a family. It shows the possibility and hope for better things and a new way of life. Whether you are an immigrant, in quotation marks, or someone looking to move onto new territory, you need to be prepared to venture out into new adventures for the promise that's offered, which is kind of what I've been talking about with this Sagittarius energy. It's about pushing forward, it's about going beyond the boundaries. Once you've fulfilled the requirements, you can move into this brand new life and reap the rewards. There may need to be adjustments about the way one communicates one's thoughts and ideas, could relate to the media. Be receptive to this new way of life and you'll learn much. Reorientation of self, learning new languages or customs, passing tests or not, asylum, immigration, the Statue of Liberty, papers, qualifications, refugees, laws, borders. And the caution here is inflexible traditions, the pursuit of the unknown, rigid border controls, customs restrictions, being rejected and sent back, not filling out the paperwork, lack of credentials. And so that's all of that Sabian symbol. And like I said, I'm not overly keen on their ideas, but I can understand where it's coming from. It is very Sagittarian in its meaning. So I'm just going to pull a angel script card to see what the angels would like to say here. Which angel is working with us at this time for the collective solar eclipse in Sagittarius energy, please? A card for the collective reading. We have Michael, very fiery, very Sagittarius, all that fire energy, very kind of solar eclipse looking as well in a way. So let's see what Michael is telling us. Michael is about truth, I believe. Sunshine. Michael is the commander-in-chief and rules gloriously from a seat ordained directly by heaven. Sunshine is the beauty by which all things are brought to perfection and fullness. In this light there are no questions, since the task is simply one of correct and unswerving obedience to the directions of the divine. It could well relate to the galactic center as well. The archangel provides the stable. This archangel provides the stable pivot around which the others move. It is a monarch among princes, an emperor among kings. Michael's rulership permits certainty and power. All tasks will be completed without effort or anxiety. The potency here is immeasurable and allows for growth and joy. When Michael takes up the crown prescribed by heaven, then all things fall into place. It gives directions to the lowly and raises up the poor in spirit. This light enters into all dark places, enlightening the recesses of the heart, which is interesting with this solar eclipse energy as well, because the sun has literally just been kind of cut off. When there is no ruler in a land, there is no guide. All things fall into chaos and uncertainty. Unless the energy of these uncoordinated activities is centralized, nothing will be achieved, and the purpose of the people will not be realized. A good sovereign rules the people firmly and gently. It does not intimidate, but acts as a facilitator, so that they may become whole. In this way, the ruler becomes a servant, acting in the interest of the community. The throne is a still centre about which the people can move, knowing that their efforts will be coordinated for the greatest good. Like sunshine, Michael warms the empty, cold places and encourages the timid. With this archangel by your side, there is no fear. It carries a crown of light and a sword of certainty. Yeah, sword of truth, sword of certainty. Very Sagittarius looking energy to me. So that is where I'm going to leave this reading and say I hope that it has been of some help to you. Again, if you're interested, there will be a link for the astrology in the description box down below. Again, I may put this with the tarot reading that I will be doing, or I may even put it on both as well if you're interested in following my blog as well, because like I said, there will be images. You can look at the actual chart itself too. So with all that being said, I say thank you very much for listening and watching my astrology reading today. I hope you have a tremendous solar eclipse, new moon energy kind of moving forward into this coming conjunction, where I will also be doing a video for that as well. And hopefully I will see you in my tarot reading that I will be doing as well. And please take really good care of yourselves and anybody else around you that you can at this time.